In the immediate aftermath of Snow White's critical panning and disappointing box office performance, a new and unsettling narrative began to emerge from the shadowy corners of Hollywood gossip. These weren't whispers about on-set drama or creative clashes. These were far more personal and potentially damaging rumors, allegations that Rachel Zegler, the young actress who had once been hailed as a rising star, was now facing unexpected and significant financial strain. These initial reports were vague, often appearing as blind items in industry publications or hushed conversations among insiders, hinting at a rapid and unforeseen downturn in her professional prospects and, consequently, her financial stability. The speed at which this narrative shifted from promising newcomer to someone allegedly facing economic hardship was jarring and captured the attention of many who had been following the Snow White saga with a mixture of fascination and disbelief. The underlying question that began to circulate was, how could an actress who had just headlined a major Disney film seemingly find herself in such a precarious position so quickly after its release? The very notion painted a stark and somewhat unsettling picture of the often brutal realities of the entertainment industry, where fortunes can seemingly shift on a dime based on a single project's success or failure and the subsequent public perception of its key players. As the initial whispers of financial strain began to gain traction and spread more widely, the rumors surrounding Rachel Zegler's alleged situation became increasingly specific and, frankly, quite dramatic. Reports began to surface suggesting that the young actress and her representatives were actively engaged in a somewhat aggressive campaign to solicit funds and secure new acting roles or lucrative deals from various influential figures within the entertainment industry. These weren't just standard networking efforts. The implication was one of a more urgent and pressing need to secure future income and maintain a certain level of professional visibility. Some accounts even suggested that Zegler's team had approached multiple streaming services and established production houses, not just exploring potential future projects, but actively seeking immediate commitments and financial assurances. The urgency and directness of these alleged outreach efforts reportedly raised eyebrows among some industry veterans, who viewed it as an unusual and perhaps even desperate move for an actress who had recently headlined a major studio film, regardless of its ultimate performance. The underlying implication was that the fallout from the Snow White controversy and its subsequent box office failure had been far more damaging to Zegler's career prospects than initially perceived, necessitating a more proactive and perhaps even somewhat unconventional approach to securing her professional future and financial well-being in a notoriously fickle and competitive industry. The most sensational and undoubtedly the most talked-about aspect of the post-Snow White fallout for Rachel Zegler was the emergence of truly extraordinary rumors alleging that she was, in essence, begging for money from certain powerful individuals within the entertainment industry. These weren't just vague suggestions of seeking financial assistance. The reports painted a picture of direct and personal appeals to influential figures, potentially including high-ranking Disney executives or wealthy private financiers. The alleged aim of these appeals was to secure the necessary financial support to maintain her upward trajectory in Hollywood, and perhaps even to mitigate any potential financial repercussions resulting from her involvement in a high-profile flop. This narrative, while undeniably dramatic and potentially based on mere speculation or exaggeration, nonetheless captured the public's imagination and became a central point of discussion surrounding the entire Snow White controversy. The sheer audacity of the claim, a young actress who had just starred in a major studio film reportedly reduced to personally soliciting funds, was both shocking and undeniably intriguing, painted a stark and somewhat unsettling picture of the potential fragility of fame and fortune in the entertainment world, where even a leading role in a Disney film might not provide the long-term security one might assume. Whether these rumors held any factual basis remained largely unverified, but their very existence and widespread circulation spoke volumes about the drastically altered public perception of Rachel Zegler in the wake of the Snow White debacle. Underlying the dramatic rumors of Rachel Zegler allegedly seeking financial assistance was a more grounded and perhaps more likely explanation for any potential financial concerns she might have faced: the significant and undeniable fallout from starring in a high-profile box office flop. In the highly competitive and often unforgiving world of Hollywood, the success or failure of a major film can have a profound and lasting impact on the career prospects and earning potential of its key actors, particularly those who are still relatively early in their careers. A major box office disappointment can lead to fewer job offers, lower salary expectations, and a general sense of caution among studio executives and casting directors who become hesitant to associate with projects perceived as risky. For Rachel Zegler, who was still establishing herself as a leading actress in the industry, the underperformance of Snow White could have understandably created a sense of uncertainty about her immediate professional future and her ability to command the same level of compensation and opportunities that might might have been available had the film been a success. The prospect of fewer guaranteed roles and the potential for a downturn in future income would logically lead any actor, particularly one without an extensive back catalog of blockbuster hits, to reassess their financial situation and potentially explore new avenues for securing future work and ensuring their long-term financial stability in a notoriously unpredictable industry. The rumors surrounding Rachel Zegler's alleged financial struggles also ignited broader conversations and debates within the entertainment industry and among observers about the often precarious environment that young artists, even those who achieve seemingly overnight success, navigate in Hollywood. The narrative of a rising star potentially facing financial hardship after headlining a major studio film served as a stark reminder that even seemingly guaranteed success can be fleeting and that the industry is often characterized by significant volatility and uncertainty. Many commentators pointed out that Hollywood's intense focus on box office returns and public perception can create a feast-or-famine dynamic for actors, where a single misstep or an unfortunate association with a poorly received project can have significant and lasting consequences on their career trajectory and financial well-being. The story of Zegler, whether the begging for money rumors were entirely accurate or not, nonetheless highlighted the inherent risks and pressures faced by young performers in an industry where opportunities can be scarce and the shelf life of even the brightest stars can sometimes be surprisingly short. Prompted discussions about the support systems, both formal and informal, available to young actors navigating the complexities of Hollywood and the potential need for greater financial literacy and long-term planning in a profession known for its unpredictable income streams and often intense public scrutiny. Adding another layer of complexity to the narrative surrounding Rachel Zegler's alleged financial difficulties was the ongoing debate about whether her own frequently outspoken and often controversial public positions had played a significant role in her post-Snow White predicament. Throughout the lead-up to the film's release, Zegler had been notably vocal on various social and political issues, and her often unfiltered opinions had already generated a considerable amount of both support and backlash. In the wake of Snow White's poor reception and the subsequent rumors of financial strain, many online commentators and industry observers began to speculate whether her outspokenness had alienated key players within the notoriously risk-averse Hollywood establishment. The argument was that studios and production companies, wary of potential controversy and the risk of further alienating audiences, might have become more hesitant to associate with an actress who had already proven to be a polarizing figure. The fear of further public relations nightmares or potential boycotts could understandably lead to fewer job offers and a general reluctance to invest in projects led by someone perceived as a potential liability. While it is impossible to definitively quantify the extent to which Zegler's public stances may have impacted her career prospects, the fact that this question was so widely debated underscores the delicate balance that public figures, particularly those in the highly visible world of Hollywood, must often strike between expressing their personal beliefs and maintaining broad professional appeal in a business where perception is often everything and controversy can quickly translate into lost opportunities and diminished earning potential. The unfolding narrative of Rachel Zegler's alleged financial struggles in the aftermath of the Snow White debacle inevitably sparked a significant and often heated debate among online communities and industry observers regarding whether she deserved sympathy for her potential predicament or whether she had, in essence, brought it upon herself by alienating key players within Disney's orbit and potentially broader Hollywood circles through her outspokenness and reported unprofessional behavior on set. On one side of the argument were those who expressed sympathy for a young actress seemingly facing the harsh realities of a fickle and often unforgiving industry, particularly in the wake of a project that was plagued by numerous issues seemingly beyond her sole control. Others, however, took a far less charitable view, arguing that Zegler's perceived disrespect for the source material, her alleged on-set behavior, and her often polarizing public statements had likely contributed significantly to any downturn in her professional prospects. This perspective suggested that she had perhaps underestimated the power of fan sentiment and the potential consequences of publicly criticizing a beloved franchise and potentially creating a negative working environment. The debate highlighted the complex and often subjective nature of public opinion and the varying degrees of empathy or condemnation that celebrities face when their careers encounter turbulence. Ultimately, the question of whether Rachel Zegler was a victim of circumstance or the architect of her own potential misfortune remained a contentious and largely unresolved point of discussion among those closely following the unfolding drama. Adding another layer of intrigue to the speculation surrounding Rachel Zegler's future prospects was the distinct possibility, alluded to in the provided transcript, that major studios and potentially Disney itself might adopt a far more stringent approach to managing the public statements and social media activity of their talent moving forward. The Snow White controversy served as a stark and highly visible example of how outspokenness and perceived negativity from a lead actor can have significant and potentially damaging consequences for a major studio project. As a result, the suggestion that studios might implement a more explicit and forceful shut-up mandate for their actors, particularly those involved in high-profile and potentially sensitive projects, gained considerable traction in industry discussions. The implication was that studios, having witnessed the potential financial and reputational fallout from the Snow White situation, would be far less tolerant of actors publicly criticizing their projects or engaging in potentially alienating rhetoric. The idea that studios might even consider clawing back some money from actors who engage in such behavior, as also suggested in the transcript, further underscored the potential for a significant shift in the power dynamics between studios and their talent, with a greater emphasis likely being placed on controlling the narrative and minimizing the risk of further public relations disasters. This potential shift towards a more tightly controlled public image for actors in major studio productions could have significant implications for the future of celebrity engagement and the degree of unfiltered personal expression that studios will be willing to tolerate from their stars. The controversy surrounding Snow White and the subsequent alleged difficulties faced by Rachel Zegler also became intertwined with the broader and ongoing cultural debate surrounding so-called woke content and the potential backlash it can generate from certain segments of the audience. The transcript itself touches upon the idea that Disney's perceived leaning into woke hardcore may have contributed to the film's negative reception among some viewers who simply desired a nostalgic retelling of a classic fairy tale rather than a heavily moralized and politically charged reimagining. The alleged financial struggles of the film's lead actress, particularly in the context of the widespread criticism of the film's progressive themes and Zegler's own outspokenness on social issues, were interpreted by some as a potential consequence of this perceived woke agenda. This perspective suggested that studios might need to exercise greater caution in how they approach updating classic stories, balancing the desire for inclusivity and contemporary relevance with the need to respect the core elements and the nostalgic attachments that many viewers hold for the original material. The Snow White situation in this context became a cautionary tale for studios navigating the often treacherous waters of modern cultural sensitivities and the potential financial and reputational risks associated with alienating significant portions of their target audience through perceived ideological agendas. The question that emerged was whether the film's struggles and the subsequent alleged difficulties faced by its star would lead to a broader reevaluation within the industry regarding the approach to adapting beloved classics for a contemporary audience. Ultimately, while the rumors and allegations surrounding Rachel Zegler's potential financial difficulties in the wake of the Snow White controversy generated a significant amount of online discussion and industry speculation, it is crucial to reiterate that the most dramatic claims, particularly those involving her allegedly begging for money, remained largely unverified and based on unconfirmed reports and whispers within Hollywood circles. Despite the widespread interest and the compelling narrative of a rising star potentially facing a dramatic and unforeseen downturn, concrete evidence to definitively substantiate these claims remained elusive. However, regardless of the absolute truth of these specific allegations, the very fact that such rumors emerged and gained such significant traction speaks volumes about the drastically altered public perception of Rachel Zegler following the Snow White debacle. The narrative of potential financial hardship, whether entirely factual or somewhat exaggerated, became a potent and enduring part of the overall story, further fueling the ongoing speculation and solidifying the film's legacy not as a beloved fairy tale reimagined, but as a cautionary and deeply dramatic tale of behind-the-scenes turmoil and the potentially harsh consequences of a major Hollywood misfire. The lasting impact of these unverified claims and the ensuing speculation serve to underscore the often brutal and unforgiving nature of the entertainment industry, where even the brightest stars can find themselves facing unexpected challenges and where public perception, whether entirely accurate or not, can have a profound and lasting impact on careers and reputations.